Everybody, welcome back to the Insiders Lounge. Today we got Andreas Vaikla, the full name. Andreas, if you want to give yourself a quick introduction to get things started here, and then we'll get into some questions. First of all, and thanks for coming on. I appreciate you coming on.
Of course, thank you for having me. Yeah, brief. Let's see. I played soccer since I was 4 years old. Went to high school. Had a chance to move to England. I had like an 8-year career. Recently, that I decided to kind of switch it up and go in a different route, and let's say position myself where my skills were, let's say, appreciated a little bit more.
Mm-hmm. No, right on. That's a good way to start things off. So I wanted to kind of get into a lot of people don't know the Canadian soccer landscape and kind of how things work up here. I wanted to kind of ask you more of like how growing up was like with the youth soccer landscape in Canada, and then how you got your opportunity to make the jump over to the UK, and obviously your time with the youth national team in Estonia. Where did the Estonian side come from? Like how does that all get started?
Sure. So I guess we'll have to start from the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, just played house league. Have some friends here, 2 years older, whatever. We can play sports outside because we didn't have phones and iPads. And obviously, when you're a little bit of a taller kid, and now you're playing with people that are older than you, 2 years is a pretty wide age gap when you're 5 years old and everyone's 7. And so, I was competing at that high level, and as well, when you're a youngin, you have to go improve yourself, right, to stay in the pack. And so I just always had that kind of chip on the shoulder. And then they had older guys that were even like 10 years older. Used to hang out with those guys. It's another, you see the levels of things.
Yeah.
And so when I came back down to my age, it was always a little bit easier, let's say. And so you could like be better, let's say. As well, obviously the height helped.
Right.
Played a lot of sports growing up, and like always had that dream to go be a pro. And that was always like everyone else writes, like, in their grade 3 stuff, like, I want to become a pro, or I want to go play whatever. And then under 14s, I think I got cut from the provincial team, or under 15s. And like a month later, the call from Estonia to potentially go and trial for them. Like, hey, you can come. I'm like, oh, it sounds good. I got the passport like a year before that or something. And took me for the team, played a game in Ireland, and from there, dropped out of high school and moved over to England.
Right on. And then the Estonian connection, I think I was checking, is through your parents, right? Are both Estonian?
Both Estonian. Father was born in Estonia. Mom was born here. But like, blood is still 100% technically.
Right. And then how did they, like, are they scouting provincial soccer in Canada, or how did that kind of connection first start?
So we like went there like every like 5 years or something.
Oh, okay.
And so like my dad started reaching out to certain people. And so I guess like from this story, like the career will in some sense come full circle, where it's who you know. And so he started reaching out himself. He saw that I had a passion for it, because as well, from Estonia, Mark Boom, mad legend. He played in the Prem, goalkeeper, scored in the Prem, and I saw this guy's posters. I'm like, yo, Dad, I want to be him. That's all it was, probably. Go buy me a pair of gloves and kick the ball at me. That's where it started. Came home from there, and I'm just like, I'm a goalie now. And then I was in net, and I just like, from playing with all these like older kids, I'm just like had like these like, I was playing hockey, whatever, basketball. You gain like these motor skills a lot faster because you're in a challenging environment. And then took the identity of a goalkeeper for 20 years basically.
Yeah. And then, did you ever consider any other sports? Like, obviously, basketball would be the one that would kind of, if you're an early growth spurt, was that ever a consideration, or was it?
I wonder why you would assume that.
Was it ever? Was there ever the chance of playing that, or mainly it was always just soccer from the start?
No, I played a lot of basketball growing up, like mostly like with my friends. That was like my favorite sport to play with my friends.
Right.
And but like once it got into like the actual fundamentals of the game, I didn't really like it in that sense, like the club side of basketball. I was like playing with my friends. And so with the soccer stuff, I was like super comfortable in that area.
Mm-hmm.
And like as well, like when I was like 10 to 12 years old, I'm like, I'd be like 6'4", growing up like 6'3". So in basketball, I'm still gonna have to be like a
Yeah, you're
shooting guard.
still.
I'm like,
Mhm.
I'm not athletic. I'm not that
Right.
good. But like I'm already here. I'm like, all right, 6'4" goalkeeper. Like, okay, there's some potential here.
Yeah, yeah. No, that makes sense. And then yeah, so you obviously made the jump over at 15 or 16 to the UK.
16 after grade 10,
16.
so 16. Yeah.
And how was that? So did your I'm assuming your parents didn't go with you, or how was that?
No, I went by myself.
Wow.
It was a great experience, man. You get to grow up
Hmm.
quick, throw you in the deep end. Let's see if you can swim.
Yeah.
And yeah, definitely like but like you go into like instead of you're going to school now, you're going to the school of life, and
Right.
it hits you hard sometimes. But yeah, first
Hmm.
6 months were just like obviously getting to understand like living alone, like like things weren't going that great at the club either. So now you're dealing with controversy and all these dilemmas by yourself at 16.
Right.
But honestly, like I also went to bed sometimes and I'm just like, yo, like things suck, but like imagine
Hmm.
having to go to school tomorrow.
Yeah.
I'm just like, there's no
At
chance.
least you just get to play.
Yeah, exactly. So like,
Mhm.
but as well, like when you're not the best player, uh, like for me as well, like I was used to being very good, and I was like not just being like whatever it's called disregarded to the side. Like
Mhm.
it was like I was like third choice, like not getting games. Like it was just like it was fine in some sense, but they had their own people, right? They signed me, and
Mhm.
then like a guy that was from the Arsenal academy. They already had their prodigy, like but like he's a goat too. Like Alex Palmer, he plays for like the first team now.
Yeah.
Like me and him got along well, and like they were like they chose him, and bro, great choice in some senses. Look, he's playing for the
Hmm.
first team, and he's balling out. So
No,
like
that's.
it's like totally like amendable in that sense.
Mhm.
It's just yeah.
Yeah, and
You had a question?
then no, 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 that's good. And then from West Brom, what was the transition like next? So you ended up going to Scandinavia, right? You're in Sweden or Finland?
Yeah, I went to Sweden. So I went to like I went on trial.
Oh, okay.
I went on trial to like the club in Sweden called IFK Norrköping. Basically, they were I don't know. I went on trial, did well as well. Like, I really like, showed out. I was like, you see, like from under 18 West Brom, I'm like, I want to go to a first team. I want
Right.
to go to an under 23 team. And so, uh, like, it was the first time dealing with like men in a sense, and it was
Yeah.
like, but like, as well, like I was training a lot with like those guys, like the scrubs
Right.
training and first team when you're 17 years old. So like you're used to it. Like you've seen like the Anelkas and stuff.
Yeah.
So it's nothing like crazy, but like whatever. Did well, signed there. 3 months later, won the league.
Wow.
So like sick experience, like
Yeah.
20,000 at the stadium. You're just sitting on the bench. First time the goalkeeper went down because I was the second choice at that point. They gave me the number 1 jersey, bro. I couldn't even make the under 18 bench like two
Mhm.
weeks ago, and now I'm sitting on the bench with 10,000 around and some random country. Like
Crazy.
whenever a guy goes down, like I go warm up and like, I'm not ready for this. But then just fast forward, like after we win the league, after the next season starts, like the first couple of games, other goalkeeper breaks same goalkeeper, he breaks his leg, and they're like, "Yo, you're in now," and I'm just like, "Finally,"
Mhm.
you know what I mean? Like the
Now's your
difference in like
chance.
the mindset of like I was finally comfortable in the situation,
Right.
and yeah, man, I actually loved my time there. It was super fun playing in front of the crowds, the 20,000s, or where it's at.
Yeah, especially in
Very good team.
Scandinavia. Like
Yeah.
that, like even the Copenhagen derbies and stuff like that. Those are some crazy games.
Yeah, man, they're super fun. Like the dopamine rush is different.
Yeah. And then so obviously then you transitioned, you played your time in Europe and you ended up coming back to Canada, played for TFC in Edmonton. One of the big questions most people know more, especially with my podcast, they would know more of the MLS and kind of the North American realm. But what were the differences like between kind of your side in playing in Europe, like the UK, Europe, and then also coming home and playing here? What were the key differences?
In like lifestyle, like
Yeah, kind of
ways of
like on
playing. Like
Yeah, on the pitch and off the pitch, like kind of your whole like because as a pro, you're not only your life isn't just on the pitch; it's also mostly off the pitch. So what are the big differences like?
Definitely, like once you leave home, especially your home country or your native country, and you go into another country and you don't speak the language there,
Yeah.
like it's always going to be a tough time because that's communication at the end of the day. And
Hmm.
the same thing as if like when your coach says, "Oh, communicate, communicate, communicate," it's just like you
I
literally.
physically can't communicate.
I literally can't as well. It's like I can't communicate with my cashier or something. Like,
Right.
or like say hello to somebody and then it's like they ask you a question and you're like, no, no Swedish.
Yeah.
But you learn no Swedish in Swedish so you can say it to them. And so like a lot of your happiness, like all your eggs go into one basket.
Mm.
So like, let's say like if I'm home and I don't have a good game, and I go home with my family, I see my friends, I can see whatever, my grandma. There, it's like I go home and see your apartment, and you're either by yourself or you go to a party.
Mm.
You know what I mean? And like, it's just it's a different life and it's a growth experience for sure, especially when you don't play at like the top clubs.
And when you're at such a young age, like especially going over at 16, like that's I couldn't imagine that.
Yeah, but as well, I felt like that was like the time to do it. It's like why
Yeah.
when else are you gonna do it? At like
Mm.
16, you can always go to school. I can always
Right.
go to do these things. Like that
No,
was always the idea that like let's play it all on the table.
no,
That's
yeah,
all I can do with my life.
yeah. You can. No, it's good. Once you get an opportunity, you might as well take it because you can always. Most of the time, the situation you're in, you can always return to, but you might not get that same opportunity again.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, that's fair. And then, yeah, so we were kind of speaking throughout your career. What were some of the big moments? Like you mentioned the league title, 3 months joining into Sweden with your Swedish team. What were some of your other big moments that you were either really proud of or things that kind of just occurred and you couldn't believe it at the time, or even now looking back, you're shocked.
Uh, like a pretty like sick moment was when after that moment the guy broke his leg.
Hmm.
So like before that moment, my parents surprised my dad, or we all surprised my dad for tickets to go to Sweden come see me, and they were planning
Oh,
on
okay.
watching the second team games.
Hmm.
But then now I'm playing for the first team, and I'm just like starting to play for them,
Right.
So and then like the first game, they come and see me. Whenever they come from the airport, say what's up. We go play the game. After the game, we're like clapping to the fans. Then you hear they start chanting your name, and you're like, "Geez, this is sick."
Yeah.
Then next game, Derby, Mother's Day, clean sheet, going to the crowd, hug my mom. Like everyone's like chanting your name. You're like, this is the life,
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
is sick. So yeah, definitely the best moments, kind of like that. Obviously, like making uh, national team debuts,
Hmm.
playing against Man United, sitting on the bench against Portugal. Like unfortunately, I saw on the bench, but they got after that they went and won the Euros, and so it was just like these interesting experiences. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you just sometimes you don't realize until you're actually there that you have the opportunity to do that.
But like definitely like the playing in front of those big crowds is like it's like the most like what's called the highest adrenaline rush. You get in that
Mhm.
fight or flight, like you're like super nervous in some senses, but it's exactly where you want to be.
Mhm.
And
And
so
then
like yeah,
no, that's great. And then one of the big things with being a pro player is you kind of have these huge ups, but also these huge downs. And I think one of the main things is the mental game. So many people speak on it, like just being able to stay stable no matter what happens. So we spoke a little bit about the positives, but what were some of the big negatives as well? Like along with going overseas and things like that. What were the big downfalls or things that you were just praying to get out of, or certain situations that you just didn't really enjoy as much as those big moments.
yeah, for sure, for sure. I think you hit the nail on the head with that comment. A lot of ups and downs, and but that's like where you kind of grow, especially in those times.
Hmm.
It's like the tough times is when as you're gonna go seek for help and how you get through those things. So like for me, it was a lot of like reading, kind of like understanding other people's journeys, right? And like like those tough times is like where you're there was like that meme, right, of that guy where it goes tough times never last, only tough people last.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I know
And
what you're
so
talking
it's
about.
like it's like I'm not stopping in that sense, but like let's like learn how to get through this. Let's go put the extra work in. Like if I'm nervous about, if I'm not happy with something, then I can, it's like either me, it's a single player game at the
Hmm.
end of the day. So like yeah, there's tough
Especially,
times
especially as a
when
goalie.
exactly you're gonna make
Hmm.
mistakes, especially when you're younger. Like man, it's fine. Like I was literally playing in school gyms at like 2 years ago, and then 2 years later I'm playing in front of against Hulk in my debut friendly,
Hmm.
and I'm just like, all right, like let's do it, no problem. So everyone else like is all they're also doing it, but no, it's tough because you don't, like I said, you're alone in there, so it's you spend a lot of time probably by yourself, and so what you spend your time on is probably important because I think one thing that you can always do is develop skills and look at your what you want to do in the future because even if you're a successful footballer, there's still going to be a time and day pretty early in your life where you have to finish that career and look at yourself and find another identity and what you
Right.
have. And I think another interest outside of football is really important to take your mind off the game, especially when you're there,
Hmm.
because I think like um, sorry, I
No, you're
think
all
that
good.
I think that yeah, there's a lot of I forgot. I'm sorry, I lost my train of
No,
thought there.
no, you're all good. The one thing I was gonna ask, did you ever have any like seniority players or kind of players that were a little bit older than you within the squad, or even outside of football, coaches, staff, or even your parents? Did you have people that you looked up to or that you could go to during those tough times, or kind of reflect on whether it was their career or the way they acted and kind of help you grow as a player, but also as a human being?
I don't think I ever had like a tour where it's like I think my parents were obviously a main outlet of communication.
Right.
Um, just seeing what they did was asking them what to do. Basically, at like 16, they like started. They tried telling me what to do, and I'm just like, "What are you gonna do if I don't do what you say to me?" Because
when
now
you're
I'm
when you're
like
in England,
I'm
yeah.
overseas, and at that point it became advice, and I think the relationship grew into like a different place.
Hmm.
So, but like other than that, no like ex pros or something like that. Nobody that kind of yeah helped out, but as well, I guess it's like same thing as how I got my Estonian trial. It's like you gotta reach out yourself.
Hmm.
You gotta take your own initiative, and I didn't. And there was like maybe some things where it's like I don't know what the right answer was. Like looking back, what I could have done exactly better, rather than just like keep doing it. I
Hmm.
didn't have enough reps. I felt like where I was just comfortable in those situations as much. Where it's like now it's like certain things that I've done and certain like skills that I gained through just like understanding those things. It's like if I started doing this training earlier, maybe as well I would have been better in those situations. And
Hmm. Yeah, it's part of life. You learn as you go,
exactly,
and then now that you can look back and go, okay, if I did this differently, so that in the future, if anything happens, then you know and you're prepared.
exactly. And so now it's like I've done all those things that are some mistakes, some good things. I've been in those situations. I understand how it feels to be in there and what it takes to do it right, and why like I've done it wrong as well a lot of times. So I understand why
Hmm.
I've done it wrong as well. And so I understand kind of both sides. And so now it's like when I'm coaching the kids or whatever and doing the Instagram, it's like I kind of actually know what I'm talking about because I've been
Yeah.
there.
No, 100%. So then you've had what you played about 10 years as a pro, and now you've kind of transitioned into a bit of a transition period of you're kind of getting ready to take your next steps. What were some of the things we were talking a little bit about it before? So obviously you started the Instagram account, Dre the GK. You started Capra, you're repping it there. And then you're coaching on the side now, kind of doing a little bit of everything while you're getting ready to kind of make your next step. What was that transition like going? Because most people, once you stop your career, you're retired for good, but you're in a period ready to bounce back. What's that been like, kind of turning away from it and getting ready to get back into it?
man, I think it's been so beneficial for me as well personally. So
Hmm.
like, let's say there was tough times, and it's just like, holy, maybe the tough people don't last either. But like now, it's like I've found like other things that I've been interested in, and let's say like, especially when you're away, it's like you put a lot of happiness in one basket, and
Hmm.
um, as well there was a big, let's say like thing where it's like I did have offers to continue to play, but I
Right.
declined them because like there was like, let's say there was finances that didn't meet the criterias.
Hmm.
And so now we're expanding to different areas and learning the business side of football, and to like still like position yourself in a place where your skills are valued.
Hmm.
And so then what value I put into this or perceived is what I'm going to get out as well. So that's where it's like, okay, I have no problem, like taking a little bit of time off. I'm still playing, say, like what is it, 22 games this season, and
Yeah.
semi-pro, like regular season champions. But like there was other things where I want to explore too. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
I'm not just Andreas Vaikla the player anymore. I'm just Andreas Vaikla the person, the business,
Right.
because that's how most people live their lives anyways. So it's just football is where we just love playing the game, like we're real
Hmm.
life people, real people too.
And I think
And so
a lot of players struggle to kind of break that. Like you can't ever break that mold of just being a player and kind of
yeah.
transitioning into more than just a player and becoming a brand or even bigger. What were some of the inspirations to kind of get into the business side? Is your family business orientated, or was it mainly just on your own that you kind of got things started with the Instagram, with the clothing brand, all the different things?
I think there's always been something there, but like as well, like at 16 when you leave, and now you're looking at like I've never had a real job, and I don't know, I feel like it didn't make sense to go the corporate route for me. Like
Right.
I've worked like 2 or 3 days, like let's say like with my mom or something like that, like,
Right.
and I'm just like I'm not doing this anymore. Like this was when I was like 18 or something like that. Like
Mm-hmm.
you're trying to like just do something on the side, and
Right.
yeah, bro, I did it, and I'm just like I'll do whatever it takes not to do this. And so as
Mm-hmm.
well, there's a outlet as well to be financially free as fast as possible, and just learning the principles of business is just a fascinating route to get there.
Yeah, no, that's great. And with the clothing line especially, what's kind of your plan for it, and what were some of the inspirations to get started with the clothing line? Like that with the name, kind of the and your style behind it and that type of thing.
So like I had this idea when I was like 19 years old or something like that, and it's just been kind of like marinating the whole time. It's just like something like a little brand idea which I had like right like just start playing around with it.
Yeah.
That really started on like Microsoft Word, just playing around with fonts and like playing around with like these words. So I started with the word go, obviously. So
Hmm.
Gopher means go in Italian.
Okay.
Obviously, the acronym greatest of all time. And so it's like this whole notion of like becoming the greatest version of yourself without being the whole cheesy side of it, and like making it a brand. It's like, okay, it's something where it's like it resonates with me, but I actually like to wear it. It's some clothes that I like to wear, and that's I took obviously the inspiration from all the clothes that I like and what I wear currently or what I see on the market. But I'm just like, okay, this is really nice, but I think this could be even nicer. Or how can I bring, you know, um, uh, a principle or a thought into like from my mind
Yeah.
into a t-shirt.
No,
Something I could
that's
play
and
around.
it gives you an opportunity to wear your own clothing. You don't have to go out and buy new clothes. You just have to pay for the cost, but then you build a brand, and then you can wear your own clothing for good.
Yeah, man. I just feel like there's things on the market that you can definitely always make better.
Hmm.
Just kind of looking around and looking at where people have problems and where you can make a solution as well. It's just like an interesting part of living and how to make the world a better place at the end of the day. So now
Right.
it's like you see like there's a lot of, let's say, males that like kind of struggle with that in some senses, you know. And I think as well, like
Mm,
the path to being the best version of yourself is like a path where you're always gonna be doing the right things. You know what I mean? And so you're always
mm,
gonna be like fulfilled with your life if you're doing that, because as a male, I think you have to overcome challenges to prove to yourself who you really are, let's say. And like entrepreneurship or betting on yourself is like the ultimate task in some
right.
senses. But like, what else would I do with my life than try to do all the things that I love to do? So if it's whether it's like designing clothes, creating a video, or creating whatever, playing, even helping out kids and coaching, like love doing all of it. You know what I mean? And you're just putting
Mm,
the input of being making the world a better place, hopefully,
mm,
and one day, hopefully, like you'll receive that back in dividends.
definitely. And the worst case you can fail, which isn't necessarily a bad thing all the time.
I mean, let's say tough times never last. Always, I
There
think
you go.
eventually, if you plug away and do the right things, and you know, I think you'll kind of get what you deserve.
100%. And then yeah, so we spoke a little bit about the Instagram. What was the where did you kind of start that? So it was obviously a separate account to your personal account. What was the idea behind that, and kind of what is your plan for it? Where do you want it to grow? What are your ideas behind it?
So, after you finish, like, let's say, as a footballer, you're still an employee, right? You get a bi-weekly salary, and no matter how well you do on the pitch, unless you have a certain bonus in your clause, you're still gonna get a
Hmm.
bi-weekly salary. And you're not in control of your own life. So let's say if you're not friends with the coach, then you might not play.
Right.
So now when you step away from that, just you, and you're like, oh, what skills do you have? And how can I show people that I have these skills to make some money,
Hmm.
which is basically marketing. So obviously, I'm going to go and I have a good friend Quinn who was doing it, and so to show my skills to the world, I tapped into something that was working, and obviously, social media is where all the eyes are at, and to start the funnel of making money, it starts with eyes.
Right.
And at the same time, that was probably the biggest outlet to help the most people, help them see the most goalkeepers, right? Like
Hmm.
I can help 30 goalkeepers in my neighborhood, or I can help 300,000 or 3 million or whatever big it gets across the whole world. Because I don't feel like there was that information out there when I grew up.
Hmm.
So yeah, it just kind of started as a way to kind of market myself, show people, you kind of give people the information that I didn't see was out there for goalkeepers, because there is also there's no pro content creators out there,
Yeah.
and so I also saw a niche there where it was interesting. And a lot of people were kind of making videos, but like Quinn was making like tutorials and how to actually do things. And now
Right.
little things that I've learned that could have helped me in my career, it's like, okay, or the kids that I coach, it's like, okay, these probably happen to a lot of people. So now I can just broadcast what I saw happen with these 30 kids, and now know it's a 3 million, and now hopefully someone will learn.
No, 100%. I look at the first thing I look at is someone like Ben Foster with the cycling GK. Like that's someone who had a very successful career and has now built himself into a social media star and a brand, and his whole life is now just focused around he has a podcast, he has the YouTube channel, all these different things, and I'm sure he's doing very well. And I don't see why others can't do the same with their own, because you have a completely different style to how he does things, and you can really make it your own at the end of the day. That's what social media is all about.
Mhm. Of course, it's what you can provide to the world that's gonna always be. It always starts with the input, then you get the output. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So if whatever I input and whatever I've grown, so whatever I've gone through me and seen, I like that, I like that, I don't like that, I don't like that, and now I've created my own thoughts, and that's how, let's say, Capra becomes this font rather than any of the fonts behind you or something,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Right. No, 100%. And then one of the big questions I always love to ask people. Certain people like to look in the future. Like someone like me, I sort of like to have goals set for like this many years or this many years, just general goals and not anything specific. But others stay away from it and don't really like setting goals for 5 years from now or 10 years. Do you have goals set, or do you haven't have a kind of plan in mind of what you want to do, or are you more on the other side where you don't really like to plan and you just like to grind it out?
No, I think always having a plan wherever you go is probably the smartest way to the top of the mountain. So you don't have to run through the
Mhm.
trees. You can just go
Yeah.
and kind of just work your way down from there. So yeah, for sure. Like I got an idea of like kind of where I want to go. Like there's like the ideas to start YouTube and stuff like that. And
Mm.
now even it'll be sick if we can figure something out and maybe you go back to pro and document that whole journey. At the end of the
Right.
day, it's just marketing yourself. You know what I mean? Creating that information for people and creating that personal brand. So now I have an audience where I can, again, give them ideas and programs or whatever it is to like benefit them and help them out.
Yeah, because I'm sure when you were young, 15, 16, you would have wanted the same thing, something to almost aspire to or learn from and kind of ignite those dreams that you have of wanting to be pro or whatever it is. And if you can pull up someone's Instagram and he can show you how to catch a ball, how to kick, but also this is what the day to day looks like, and this is the realities of being a player. I think it can help players a lot, like young players now.
Yeah, I hope so. And so as well, it's like there wasn't like Joe Rogan. No one read his first 100 podcasts, right? And
Right.
so or watched his first 100 podcasts. So you just gotta plug away and look at where you can exactly like the provide value, but you get some attention because now I think the way we're going into the world, it's gonna be a lot more of that. I'm gonna go straight to you for something.
Mhm.
Like, I try. Like, how can I build trust is by providing so much value that like my free stuff. Like it was like Alex Hormozy said this. It was like I'm giving you so much free stuff that your paid stuff must be even better. Like it must be crazy,
Right.
right? It's like what else did you have to give me other than these things? And
Hmm.
so like that's kind of like as well the route I want to go, where it's like, bro, I'm giving you like I want to give the sauce away. Like I'm not trying to give you
Yeah, yeah.
really anything at the internet, right? And now
Yep.
at that point, everyone's just gonna be all right. So what else do you got? Hopefully, and
Hmm.
I want to try and stay ahead of the game too. So it's like okay, at 26, it's like I've been doing this for 10 years, like professionally, more most people where it's like they get out of university at 22, 10
Yeah.
years later, it's they're 32. So like okay, I'm a coach. I can still better than you though.
No, 100%. And as a goalie, you still have 10 plus years to play anyways. Goalies play till what, 36, 37?
Yeah, man, I feel like I'm at the prime of my career, and like
Yeah.
what's it called? The demand for the skill set wasn't where I was looking at how it was gonna be, but like you know what I mean. At the same time, where it goes back to is like sometimes like who you know, not what you know,
Yep.
how good you are, and that's a, that's like a huge factor. You have to say now look at football as a business a little bit, but now as well if you can mitigate like the financial side of like worrying about where your next paycheck's gonna come from after the season and kind of learn how to like do things on the side, it brings a lot less stress to the game probably and a lot more like freedom.
And it's all part of the story. I don't know many players that have taken a break midway through what would be their 10, 20-year career. You've now built up an audience, built up a business, and now you can go back into things with this whole brand behind you and kind of change the whole way of how players actually play and build their careers. I think it's smart. It's definitely unique, and I think people will appreciate that.
Yeah, so maybe if we can make work something out, I think it would be fun, especially if it's. I'd love to go to America. I mean, I think that's like the number one pick to go to,
No,
especially since yeah, it's just on the West Coast as well, who's in America, and so
mhm.
I think it'll be a great place to let's say develop and grow as a person, and get to I throw myself back into the deep end.
100%. And then what was I was gonna actually mention the West Coast partnership. How did that come about? Because that's obviously a huge brand in terms of the goalkeeping side of things. Obviously with Matt Turner and all these big keepers. Um, that was a unique opportunity. Did that start before you kind of took your career break, or was that while you were getting things started with social media and your kind of brands behind that?
Um, so I reached out to him when I had like 4,000 followers or something. So
Hmm.
like I was working with Quinn, and so like our sponsor was Grip, so that was through him. Yeah, I just reached out to West Coast and I'm like, yeah, we're looking for a new sponsor, and they replied back like, let's have a chat. And so after a little bit of negotiations, um, I think they really liked what they saw as well. Like they said the same things where like we like how you're giving the value to like the customer basically and showing them these tips. Because at
Hmm.
the end of the day, like those would be the same things that I'd be saving when I was 15 years old or sending to
Right.
sending to the goalkeeper. And so like at the end of the day, like if the best stuff is always going to be the stuff that's going to be sent as well. You know what I mean? Like a good
Right.
quality or good tip or something like that. It's like, yeah, of course I'm sending this to my friends.
Hmm.
And so like that's like the business side of the whole like making the videos, but like obviously like whatever like the best side for the business is sometimes also the best for the customer.
Right.
And so it made sense that they like what we were doing, and we liked what they were doing. We saw like that would be like a great partnership, and right now like absolutely like love working with them. And
Hmm.
bro, the gloves like we tried them out, and so like the big thing was that they were affordable, but they're also the same glove that Matt Turner wears in the Premier League. So I get a glove that's cheaper than the average glove, and a glove that's worn by every club has an MLS goalkeeper. Every club has a West Coast goalkeeper, and
Hmm.
there's goalkeepers in the Premier League.
Can't really deny
So
that too much.
so yeah, can't complain.
100%. And then you kind of mentioned a little bit about how kind of your videos work, and the biggest growth is where you're really teaching players, and where players can relate to the content and kind of learn from it. What were some of the big lessons? Like, did you have I'm assuming you didn't really have a background in social media. So was it through your friends that you work with now for the social media that helped you kind of learn how things work and the algorithm and kind of making videos blow up? Because you see now on your Instagram, you got videos with millions of views. Where did those ideas come from? Did you learn from your friends, or was it kind of just a learning process as you were building it?
I think it's a bit of both. So
Hmm.
like I think it's like everything like you gotta like the first or whatever they say the first part's always the hardest. Like that quick learning curve, right? So I could
Right.
definitely got that head start kind of where it's like I could learn like the small little tips. Obviously I learned a lot myself, but like and
Hmm.
as well you had a boost where like you had someone that had like already 30,000 followers like promoting
Right.
your stuff pretty heavily. So like it was definitely a help. But like that was also just like by chance because this Quinn like we met when I was like he was like 16, I was like 19, and I'm like I like this kid's work ethic, like let's work,
Hmm.
and like just had brought him to train with me and everything, and now he brought his own value to the world.
Hmm.
I saw that he was like that was marketing, like let me learn how to do this. Okay, now let me see what's working and how I can like implement my style. You know what I mean? So
Yep.
like I know the game and I see what people do, and it's like okay, like let me get like video creation now is like creating a story. So
Right.
yes, I have this information, but like to create a story and make it entertaining for even 12 seconds is it's a different type of art, and it's a different type of way of throwing yourself in the deep end. So like you have to learn any skill, you have to do it and then learn about it. So it's like it's a continuous learning like experience too, like watching YouTube videos and stuff and seeing what works, or watching other people, but then also punching in your own videos and you know making putting your own style on it.
And at the end of the day, like you said, it's your work ethic. Like you still got to do it all on your own at the end of the day. Even though you might have had a little bit of a boost or a head start, it's still about being consistent and grinding it out.
Yeah, and I think it was also just like a goal. Like I committed myself. I'm like I'm making 100 videos. So
Hmm.
like even if the videos suck, like who cares? It's like I saw this thing from like Mr. Beast or something. He's like just make 100 videos and then you can see if you're gonna do it or not, or if you're good or not. So
Hmm.
I'm like, okay, fine. I'll put that challenge to myself.
Yeah.
And
No, I
like
have the same thing.
yeah,
100 episodes. That's my goal. And then if I'm if I still can't talk by the end of that, and I'm not doing well, then I gotta figure out something else. I gotta start plumbing or something else. I gotta figure out a new plan.
like you at least like develop the skills. Like even now, like bro, I have like 110 pro games or something, and now
Mhm.
it's like okay, now I'm like this is comfortable. Like I can
Right.
play whatever. I stepped into a TFC session like last week, and it's like it's just comfortable to be there. I'm not like shocked or I'm by the level. I've
Mhm.
seen it enough times. I've been there so many times. I put in that many hours that I'm not gonna be shocked, and that's the only way to get to that place
Right.
as well. Like just learn different skills, even if you just put yourself into any like like learning curve.
Mhm. And I was gonna ask a little bit about that. So you obviously at your time previously with TFC, and now you're back you trained with them once. What was it like? What was it like being back? Like, was it? It must have been a cool experience.
Yeah, I love going to TFC. It's like my favorite
Mhm.
place. Like
Yeah, it feels like home. I'm sure.
of course, exactly. Like that was the team growing up. You know what I mean? So they were made when I was like 10 years old or something like that.
Mhm.
And yeah, just a really nice place to be around. Great people. So can I not be like sad, like what's it called? Sad to attend there. And I've been
Right.
to like places in let's say in Eastern Europe where you pull up into like a what's it called like a shipping container, and you're like
Yeah.
you're like yo where's the physio room, and they're like physio room no physio room, and I'm just like what have I got myself into,
Just
dude?
grab some ice,
Yeah,
ice
like
it.
like it's snowing outside. I'm foam rolling in the shower or something. I'm just like, all right, maybe this wasn't the best decision right now. And and then you pull up and you have the full gym, like nice pitches, like the
Mhm.
meals are fire. Like, like I'm saying what's up to everyone, especially like the big one is like the kitchen staff, the security guards, the kitmen, like those guys are
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
the real homies.
Those are the ones you got to make friends with, especially the kitchen staff.
Of course, of course, of course.
So then you mentioned obviously TFC started when you were very young. Is that kind of the team you supported growing up, or did you support teams overseas? Like for me, growing up in kind of the GTA, kind of lower Ontario, TFC was always the one team I supported, but then I supported Liverpool overseas. Did you have kind of the same mentality?
Yeah, of course, bro. Manchester United's been the
Ah,
day
there you
one.
go.
The team. They got that. We got the little scarf in the back,
Yeah,
and the
yeah,
kit,
yeah.
and the kit that I played against them. It's a full
Oh, that's
circle
good.
moment.
And then you got the Pogba profile picture as well. I love that
Yeah,
with him right
yeah,
beside you as you got the ball.
yeah. Pinterest fire. That's all I was hoping for. Just like if I get in, like I just wanted the photographer to bless me a photo, please.
Was that in preseason when you played against them?
No, it was in their preseason,
Oh, okay.
so that's when like Solskjaer, he was like old like Leonard Solskjaer was like from the city that I was playing in, so like they made like the friendly against us, so it was like that homecoming kind of vibes. But it's
Hmm.
cool.
No, that's a cool experience, especially yeah, Man United and being your favorite team. So then, was De Gea kind of one of your idols while you were playing, or someone that you looked up to?
Huge
Hmm.
favorite goalkeeper. Like at the time, like one of the certified for me. Like
Yeah.
obviously didn't have the career maybe that he could have had because he
Hmm.
was at Man United, but yeah, definitely I loved
But
watching him growing up.
still one of the best for sure. All right, so we'll get into some quick fire questions. One of them was actually your favorite team that you support, but also do you have a favorite quote or saying? That's one of the big ones that people always like.
Uh, sure, I got one. It's as the body without the soul, faith without works is dead in the Bible. And so it basically means that if you don't do what you love and you don't work hard at it, then like it's kind of like that's what like the meaning of life for me, let's say, or like
Mhm.
so yeah.
No,
Go
we
ahead.
had Jay on. Jay will actually be coming out just before you. He'll be at episode 3, and he was speaking about the importance of faith. I think it's a big thing, whether it's a religious faith or just faith in yourself. I think it's so important throughout your career to just have something to hold on to, and even outside of soccer, just throughout life. I think having something to hold on to or to aspire to is important to keep things going and keep motivated.
For sure. And it's like you're only on here for you're only here for like 100 years, so
Yeah.
why not at least do what I want if I have the chance?
Mhm.
And if I can apply my and one day you can whenever you just apply and learn something. It's not like all these things are like definitely aligned with what I want to do every day. And like a very interesting one that someone said was like, all these like crazy Stoics or like Julius Caesar or something, bro. That guy still woke up in the morning probably and didn't want to get out of bed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think about that and I'm just like, all right, everyone's just human.
Yeah. He had his sick days, he had his off days. It wasn't like he was the master Caesar every day. Um, so our next one is you've obviously lived all around the world. You've traveled a ton as well. Do you have a dream destination that you would want? Not even a destination, but a place you'd want to live, or a place that you haven't traveled to yet and that you want to go see.
I want to travel to.
Mm-hmm.
One of my favorite places was definitely Cape Town. I went there in
Okay.
December.
Yep.
Like loved it there. I'd love to go to Southeast Asia, kind of explore around there, but I think that's a bit of a longer trip.
Yeah.
I think that I got other more important priorities on my list, let's
Mm.
say. So, yeah, I'd like to go explore America. Honestly, I think that would be an interesting one. Kind of more dive deep into the urban jungle.
Right. No, 100%. I like that. The same with me. My brother did Bali for like 2 months and he loved it. It was a good time. It's nice and cheap and you get good value there. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, bro, you can
And
switch off.
that's it. Yeah. And in the jungle, I think it's a relaxation. Like you can really
Yeah, bro, just
just cool down.
get away from the TikTok and the Instagram algorithms and trying
Yeah.
to edit videos on your iPhone. Eyes are bleeding.
Late at night, you got like
Like,
the bloodshot eyes and everything.
just wake up to like the sun every morning, every day, and just be like, I'm gonna go like eat a mango and like go swimming or something.
I think you do a little bit of reading. I think I've seen that you read a little bit. Do you have a favorite book that you've read?
Favorite
Or
book?
one you're planning on to?
Uh, I definitely have a couple books that like there's certain like what's called genres.
Hmm.
Um, a big one for me was Running for My Life. It was like a book that like humbled me a lot. It was like a African guy that basically got out of the refugee camp and then became an Olympic runner.
Wow.
48 Laws of Power, I think, is a great one.
Hmm.
Just understanding the dynamics of like situations and relationships and seeing how you can react to those ones. Tough read, but if you can get through it. And then the Almanac of Naval Ravikant is always a big one.
I think a lot of those, once you read it, you can kind of, it might even, like, for example, I completely off topic of those books, but I'm reading Shaquille O'Neal's biography right now. And I think as you're reading, even if it's a biography about someone else, you kind of pull out what it's saying or what the message is, and you can kind of apply it to your own life. And I think that's what's important about reading is you kind of get that idea.
No, I think reading it's like the biggest thing to it's like the biggest fastest way to level up as well. Like if I
Hmm.
never had mentors, but I had books. So it's like instead of my
Right.
mentor being like whatever's called Jeremy from down the street that is doing whatever, it's like Jordan Peterson or Shaquille O'Neal or Zlatan Ibrahimovic or you know what I mean? This
Yeah.
business guru book, E-Myth Revisited, like all these books are just like all right, I'm just learning from those guys. Like those are my teachers, not like
Hmm.
Miss Susan and grade 11. No, I'm trying to learn from Eric Thomas, this like, how to motivate yourself, how to motivate others.
Hmm.
And then that drops into leadership and, you know what I mean? Becoming like maybe a manager and whatever, right? Like all
Right.
these skills are important things to have in whatever higher up position or if you want to like make something.
No, I like that a lot. And then obviously you're playing a ton. You want things to kind of take a break, like you were saying, if you're going to Bali or whatever. But did you have hobbies that could kind of you could take a break while you were playing? Like once you got home at the end of the night and you just wanted to chill out, did you have things, whether it's video games or reading or something else that you could relax and just do that to kind of calm down?
When I was playing or now or when?
So while you were playing, and then now also kind of now that you're taking a bit of a break.
Yeah, I played a decent amount of video games until like 23,
Hmm.
and now the PlayStation's catching dust. The PlayStation 4,
Yeah.
so I haven't even gotten onto the 5. Um, yeah, I just I feel like, there's a certain amount of time and the same thing, whether I want to put the work in on the pitch or the work on the laptop or in the books. It's like where do you want to go? And
Hmm.
if I want to go up the mountain, like it's same thing. Like let's learn in different ways and progress up the mountain. Like let's take little steps every single time. And if
Well
that's like
said.
the
Well said.
yeah, that's the direction, then what else is there to do?
100%. No, I like that a lot. All right, so you killed it. We got through all of our questions here. I first of all I want to say I appreciate you coming on. It's good to always catch up and have a chat. Do you have anything you want to shout out? Any obviously you have the social media, the brands. Feel free to shout everything out.
No, I think I don't need to shout anything out. I think
No worries. No.
I think you've already said the Instagram handle like 6 times. So
There you go.
if there's like any goalkeepers, then I guess they'll follow them. If not, I suggest
Mm.
not following that account. Probably
No
not for
worries.
you. Very niche market, honestly.
Mm. But still, it's good. It's good content. I appreciate. I'm not a goalie, and I still appreciate it. But yeah, I've done enough promoting for you, and I'm sure I'll do more afterwards. But yeah, thanks for coming on, and yeah, we'll catch up soon.
Appreciate being here. We'll
All right,
definitely talk. Take
have a
care,
good
man.
one.